Straight Facts on Friday. Today we are sponsored by our friends at NordVPN. Protect yourself online today, tomorrow, every single week, up to 6 devices at a time. We've got some big information regarding them in November to tell you about later. I'm joined by Hassam, as ever. How are you, my friend? You well?
I'm good. Hashtag KJ out on the chat because we need a new intro. That's all I'm saying. You know, KJ, we need a new intro for Straight Facts. You better start to get working on it.
He doesn't update. He's very reactionary, KJ. He's very good when I tell him what to do, but innovation, he lacks a little bit there.
We need some innovation, KJ, man. Where is the innovation? Listen, me and Lee Gunner need to be the new headliners of the intro. Just saying. Big up Lee Gunner as well.
There we
Big
go.
up the Terrace chat, man. Make sure guys are liking and subscribing and keep getting involved in the chat as well. Big up to you guys, man. Big up.
And with that sponsored Nord as well today, it's Black Friday, so we've got a very special deal for you if you scan that QR code on the screen. And when you're there, if you give any donations to them as well, on top of what you were doing with their Movember program, they will double that money and donate it to Movember, which of course is a brilliant cause that raises funds and awareness and support for men suffering with cancer, such as testicular cancer. So if you can spare any money, please donate via the links in our description or pinned into the live comment section. Where to start today? Because there's so much going on this weekend. I thought I'd start with my club with you and just say, Varane versus Ten Hag, talk to me. That's all I can say. Varane versus Ten Hag, what you saying?
You know what it is? I'll be honest with you. It's just like your club is just currently doing the best impersonation of Keeping Up with the Kardashians, you know? Like, it's just weekly drama. It's like a reality TV series. And I'll be honest, it's very enjoyable from the outside looking in. It's very, very enjoyable from the outside looking in. And this is where people who back Ten Hag find it difficult. This is where people who will back Ten Hag just find it really difficult to back him in certain situations. Because I know your opinion, for example, on the matter. It's just going to be a cycle, and your focus is on, like, how can I say, your focus is more on the owners, but at the same time, you recognize Ten Hag's mistakes. There are people out there who are Ten Hag in, who are like full-on Ten Hag supporters as well, who will find it difficult to defend this. Rafael Varane is not someone you want to lose out on in the team currently with, and on top of that, have that entire media situation. First of all, there's something called self-awareness. Okay? Alhamdulillah, I've come a long way on this content creation thing, but I recognize I'm not Mark Goldbridge. I recognize I'm not certain people. You know, we can get there, inshallah, one day if we keep working hard, but I recognize I'm not that guy. With Ten Hag, he needs to realize he's not Mourinho. He's not Klopp. He's not Pep Guardiola. He's not someone who's been there, done that, won it all, done this, done that, so he can come out and say shit like that. 10 years ago, when Jose Mourinho was calling out players for Real Madrid, for Chelsea, etc., you're like, oh, that's Jose Mourinho. You know, it's okay because it's Jose. When it was Pep Guardiola calling out Man City players or Bayern players, you're like, you know what, that's Pep Guardiola. When Jurgen Klopp wanted to call out Mamadou Sakho and other players in Liverpool and first walking, you're like, you know what, that's Jurgen Klopp. That's someone who's accomplished, been there, done that. With Ten Hag, he hasn't achieved anything significant. I'm saying significant. Has he done small achievements? Of course. But has he done achievements enough to come out and call out the likes of Rafael Varane? No, he hasn't. No, he hasn't. Now, the reality is, sometimes you have to make do with the players you have. Is Rafael Varane the best player in the league? No. Is he the best centre-back in the league? No. But is he better than Maguire? Yes. Is he better than Johnny Evans? Yes. Even if you have something, it doesn't need to be made public. Whoever the hell is the mole as well, there's a mole, clearly. The mole need to get dealt with. That's another thing as well. Because Varane and Ten Hag has had a private conversation, and it should never been leaked out to the media, ever. Should have never been leaked out to the media. That should have just been a personal thing right there. And I still think, currently, out of your options, the reality is, whether people like it or not, see, let me just, because, see, I just want to roll it back to something quickly before I know you want to speak on it as well. With Jadon Sancho, I was a lot more understanding because Jadon Sancho hasn't really done anything. Like, Jadon Sancho, since he's come at Man United, it's fair to say, hasn't lived up to his price tag, hasn't achieved what's required, hasn't done this, hasn't done that. With Rafael Varane, Factually, right now with Lisandro out, factually, I don't think it's debatable, to be honest. He's your best centre back. Like, he's actually your best centre back. So you don't fall out with your best centre back. I'm just being completely honest with you on that.
Yeah, I look at it from a few ways. I think I understand what you've said there, the notion that Casemiro and Varane have achieved more in football than Ten Hag. Therefore, he shouldn't speak to them in a certain way, or he can't treat them a certain way. That's a dangerous precedent to set. The reason that's a dangerous precedent to set is if you think about, say we sack Ten Hag, what manager in the world is attainable and of the highest standard who's achieved more than those two in football?
No one, and that's exactly why you're fucked.
But this is the thing. But that logic works the same for your club. There's very few managers in the world that have achieved what your current sort of squad and Liverpool have done. Therefore, that logic dictates that when Klopp leaves and the new guy comes in, the players that have won more than that manager shouldn't listen to him. That, to me, as a general rule, is wrong. So that, for me, isn't the issue here. Because I don't care whether Ten Hag hasn't won a Champions League and Varane has 4 or 5. I don't care if I've got a defender that's won two World Cups and my manager never has even played at a World Cup. There needs to be a level of respect. However, this is a balanced and nuanced argument. The manager now has had problems with Ronaldo, with De Gea, with Sancho. There's clearly an issue with Casemiro. There's clearly an issue with Varane, and he hasn't handled them all well. So I'm not saying he's handled them well and he shouldn't be criticized. I just don't agree with the logic that a manager who hasn't achieved as much as some of his players shouldn't have full control, respect, and power. What I do agree with is that respect is earned, and I don't necessarily think he's done a good enough job of doing that if you look at all the situations and the body of work. So this is what I would say to people.
Would you criticize Ten Hag's man management then?
A lot of people are defending his man management. I'm saying, okay, hang on. Let's not be hypocrites here. So a lot of us looked at the situation with Jadon Sancho, and I hated the argument, well, Rashford don't try in games, yet he's not dropped, and Sancho doesn't try in training, and yet he is. Well, you're comparing apples with oranges. You've got to, if you can prove, or if there's comments that Rashford's also a weak trainer, but yet he's not being dropped, then your argument stacks up. However, the reason why a lot of people kind of sided with Ten Hag and I could understand why maybe he's telling the truth about Sancho's training habits is because there's been multiple stories in the past of Jadon Sancho's training habits. But if that's your logic on that situation, you look at how many players the manager's fought out with, and you have to start sitting there and thinking, you have to sit there and start thinking to yourself, there is a problem with this guy's man management. And I think that's my issue here, is everything is so... Look, every...
I know it's comment you read, by the way.
It's so... Everything's so polarized, and it's just... The notion, and this is the problem we have. We set this standard as a club. It's mad. You should never have a standard that if the manager's won less than certain players in your squad, he can't tell them what to do. Because depending on who's available and who wants to join you with, that basically means you could bring in a new manager, and based on who's available, you're guaranteeing failure before a ball is kicked, depending upon the squad of which you have got. However, the manager's management needs to be looked at. But I think it all stems to how we're trying to play. Sorry, mate, go on.
I'm not saying that, Terry. I'm saying he is not the caliber of other managers. He himself needs to earn that. I'm not comparing Ten Hag's CV to Varane's CV. I'm comparing Ten Hag's CV to other managers' CV. And if you want me to just kind of clarify an example I could give you from my own club, in Firmino's new book, he talks about when a substitution was needed, it was never Salah that came out. It was never Mane that came out. It was always Firmino that came out. He recognized that, okay, I'm the third wheel. Salah Mane situation. It's just how it goes. Now with Rafael Varane, he's not Mo Salah, he's not Mane. I understand that for Manchester United. But at the same time, as Ten Hag, this is where I take a step back and go like, he's my best centre back. I need him right now. I do not need this falling out. I need to get him on side. And this is where me and you now meet and agree on Ten Hag's man management. Because the players can't all be wrong and he's right. Like
that element I don't disagree with. I don't. Again, it's not so much about the CV for me, because at some point, you could always argue that if sometimes you're not bringing in the best manager in the world. Sometimes you're going to be bringing someone in that would probably get ranked about 10th, and that's going to happen. So you can't have that as a rule and precedent. However, to ignore Ten Hag has made mistakes and that he's got flaws in this area is ridiculous. It just cannot be true in any capacity. And I think the biggest issue, I think it's two things are hurting United right now. One, the Jadon Sancho situation, and it's why I've always said I like the fact that managers lie in press conferences. I like they don't tell us the full truth because nobody can handle it, especially not in 2023. The truth really hurts people. Secondly, I think he's overworking the players and they don't like what he's trying to do stylistically. And you could argue, and I understand the argument, well, the players should just do as they're told. And I do get that. And I'm not saying they're right for not giving it their all, but it isn't working. I saw a stat earlier on today, and it shows these heat maps of the teams that allow the most progression against them. Arsenal, Spurs, Chelsea, City are the best. Then it's Liverpool, slightly more. It's like the more yellow and orange it is, the worse it is. Yours is slightly more than them, but only minuscule. It's only 3 or 4 or 5 teams who have significantly worse progression against them than Manchester United. So there's a system issue here. There's an effort issue here. And this is either the manager completely losing the dressing room and nobody trying for him, or there is a complete lack of understanding around what he is asking them to do. And I think for me, all these things feed into the situation. And I don't care if he falls out of all these top players.
I think he lost the dressing room. I think that's a valid thing to
No,
to
I
say.
understand.
It's no longer
Again,
conspiracy,
I just want to finish that point. I don't want to leave my point. I don't care if he's lost the dress, if he falls out with players, because people think that's a weird thing to say. I don't care that he's fallen out with players, as long as it results in us improving. So I had someone message me earlier saying, but Fergie fell out with lots of top players. You weren't worried about that. Well, that's because Fergie continually won. If Fergie would have when he got rid of Ince and Kanchelskis and Mark Hughes, if we would have flopped for 2 or 3 years, that would have been a bad mistake. If we'd have got rid of Beckham and we would have regressed, that would have been a mistake. If we'd have got rid of Jaap Stam and we regressed, that would have been a mistake. If he decided to get rid of Van Nistelrooy and not because of his feud essentially with Cristiano Ronaldo, and Ronaldo flopped, he wouldn't have even got to that point if those previous sacrifices and people that he kicked out the club had led to him failing. If you make the moves that Ten Hag's making, the team needs to improve. When the Ozils and the Aubameyangs are moved out of Arsenal, they had to get better. I mean, in the end, he has to try and win still. If they do, then you can look at that and go, well, yeah, he didn't get on with some of those big names and big money players back then. But in those actions, they became a better football club. If you get rid of your best players because they're not doing what you want, and then you regress, it's a mistake at the end of the day, because your job is to make your football team win. And if you're not making your football team win, what you're doing is a mistake. And you still have to assess the situation you're in. We can move on to the Glazers, and we know this is inherent. We know this is systemic. We know this has happened to previous managers. Well, therefore, you have to go into that environment and go, right, maybe I can't act like a totalitarian in here. I can't be a disciplinarian because that isn't going to work. I've got to do it a different way. You've got to get your tact right. And the manager has failed at that. And I've been talking about it for weeks now. Something is wrong with the way we are, with the way we're playing. And the fact that there are some Man United fans who are burying their head in the sand and just hoping and praying that everything is going to be okay is beyond me. In terms of the game this weekend at Everton, how do you see it going?
You're the unluckiest club in the world, aren't you, this season? You're just the unluckiest You're the unluckiest bastards on this planet, I'll be honest with you. You're so unlucky this season. This is the absolute worst time to play Everton. Imagine the whole charges thing didn't happen, right? Genuinely speaking, no cap, I would have came on here and said Man United like 2-0 win. Like I would have been like, because I don't think Everton are that good either, to be honest. I don't think Everton are good. Everton are not a team that should scare Man United. But now Sean Dyche will have his easiest pre-game speech of his entire career. The whole Premier League is against us. We just got this many points deducted. We're gonna show the world that we don't deserve to get relegated, and what better to do it than against Manchester United, and blah, blah, blah. And Goodison's going to be rocking, and it's going to be an us against the world atmosphere. And you know who crumbles in said atmosphere? Manchester United. So I'll be honest with you. I have never been more confident of predicting a Man United loss than the game on Sunday. And it's just because of everything outside the pitch. I'll be honest with you. It's genuinely because of everything outside the pitch. Sometimes, guys, in football, it's not even just stuff that happens on the pitch. It's not even managers. It's not even any of that. Sometimes it's just this off-the-pitch environment that affects what's happening in-game. Please understand that the Goodison is going to be rocking like you've never seen it before. I promise you that this is the most rocking Goodison is going to be probably in the last 20 years. It's going to be an us against the world atmosphere. And as a Liverpool fan as well, I know that, because when it's an us against the world atmosphere, you get a Liverpool Barcelona. Scousers love the us against the world thing. And that's one thing that no one can deny. So for me, that right there, Everton are just gonna, that stadium's gonna be rocking. Sean Dyche is gonna have them so ready, so physical and everything. And I think Everton are gonna win, and it'll just compound Ten Hag's misery. And you know why it'll compound Ten Hag's misery? Because you're going to a stadium that's even considerably worse than Goodison, nicknamed the Hell 3 days later. So enjoy this week, Terry. Enjoy this week. I promise you, this week will make you miss the international break. I promise you.
Do you know what's interesting about it? It's I want these tests if I believed in what we were doing, but I don't believe in what we're doing right now. So I feel very apprehensive about this week. We're away to Everton, then we go away to Galatasaray, and then I want to double check. I'm actually I want to say Newcastle, but I could be very, very wrong. Yeah, then we're away to Newcastle. So it's an absolute. And then the following Wednesday, the 6th of December, we're at home to Chelsea. So we have, in the next sort of just under 2 weeks, we have a very, very difficult period. And the problem that we have, it isn't as though we've been playing well and narrowly losing out. We've been playing poorly. We've got no guts. We've got no heart. And as a Man United fan, I want to sit here and defend my club. I want to sit here and fight for us. But I just find it right now, it's stupid to do that, because there's almost not, there's barely any evidence that we're going to improve. Now, I'd love us to. I'd love us to go to Goodison Park, stare down that ferocious atmosphere, keep hold of the ball in the first 10 minutes, score an early goal, silence the fans. If we do that, if we score the first goal and silence their fans, we'll bash them, because then all the energy will be sucked out of them. But do Man United have the heart to do that? Right now, I don't believe it. We're a better football team than Galatasaray. How they will beat us is by their fans.
Everton as well.
Sorry?
And you're a better team than Everton as well.
We're far better than we're far better than Everton. We're a better team than Galatasaray, but can we handle that pressure? We've never won away from home against them. So this is when I say Newcastle as well. We've had some slappings by Newcastle at their ground in recent years. I look at these 3 games. If the manager hasn't lost this dressing room, and we are not up for these games, and we cannot handle the pressure of these games, it's done for him as a manager. This is a good and a bad time. It tells us where we are with him. Can he turn this around with or without Sir Jim coming in and the investments side of things? If they win these matches, if they come in and they stand up to that pressure, they win these games, and by next Friday 2 of them would have been played, then we're having a very different conversation. Then it's okay. Well, these players are actually got their teeth done and gritted for him. He's got a few players back. Things are looking better. Maybe it isn't as bad as the media is making it out to be. But if we're poor, it tells me that so many of these stories, maybe not in their entirety, but I feel like they're loosely based on truth, because there is a disjointed feeling about this team right now. And as a Man United fan, it makes me sad to see. I know rivals absolutely love seeing it, but I just feel, and I'm really gutted, because I thought Ten Hag was going to be the guy I never thought anybody under the strict 100% ownership of the Glazers was ever going to get us back to peak of the powers. But I saw so many good signs last year, so many elements where I thought, oh, he really is good. And it's some of the things he said stylistically about the play, the buying of the Mounts and the Amrabats, but they're barely playing. It's the what he's done to the system to expose the lack of pace in the middle. There's so many of these little parts where I think to myself, it's really gone wrong very, very quickly. But look, viewers, let us know what you think the score's going to be in that game. Put that in the comments section here. Another really big game this weekend that I wanted to get your opinion on, actually, was Chelsea versus Newcastle. There's a lot of Chelsea fans are confident. A lot of Newcastle fans are a little worried at the minute. You know, they've got a lot of injury problems. They're not on a great run. How do you see this going 3 p.m. on Saturday at St. James's Park?
I was backing Chelsea for the last 2 weeks because I wanted them to beat Spurs and I wanted them to get something against City. And big up Lewis as well, who I know watches the show and watches the Terrace as well. I told him, listen, you ain't going to lose all these big games. Please don't think you're just going to end up losing all of them. And I've been proven right. And the reality is, I don't want Chelsea to win because Chelsea are not, Newcastle are not a club I hate or anything. Big up Newcastle. But I don't see anything other than a Chelsea win, to be honest with you. I think, first of all, Chelsea are unlucky. I'll tell you where Chelsea are unlucky a little bit. Chelsea are unlucky a little bit because both big results they had immediately after there was an international break. The Arsenal one and the City one. International break. So both of these results kind of came for them a little bit at the wrong time because they would have built on that Manchester City-Chelsea game. Now, the positive for Chelsea is Nkunku's back. So because Nkunku's back, that gives them an option off the bench. Now, I don't think Pochettino obviously is not going to start Nkunku because he's been out for a while. But Nkunku, of course, is probably going to come in second half, maybe make a difference last 20 minutes, something like that. Newcastle have too many injuries. And this is something that I criticized at the start of the season. I said, I don't think Newcastle have the squad to compete on all fronts. And this is why they needed to beat Manchester United in the Carabao Cup last season. Why they needed to win that game is they would have gotten the kind of thing of, we haven't won a trophy yet. They would have gotten that out of the way. And now they can go like, okay, you know what? We're going to focus on being a top 4 club. But right now, they don't have the facilities to compete. Carabao Cup, Premier League, Champions League, they still have Milan, I believe, and they still have Milan and PSG. So they have 2 tough games. They're going to go PSG away, and they're going to play Milan at home. And they need to win those games, or at least get 4 points out of those games if they want to make it through to the Champions League, or even drop down to the Europa League, if they don't want to have a group exit. So there's a lot to speak about from Newcastle's perspective. I think it's very interesting how much work they need done for me. I still think people need to realize last season Chelsea were crap, Liverpool were crap, Newcastle capitalized, and we've credited Newcastle for capitalizing, but at the same time we understand the context. Now, from Chelsea's perspective, Chelsea are going to win this game. I think Chelsea have the belief, Chelsea have the momentum, and I've always said, you see why when it comes to manager criticism, earlier on we were talking about Ten Hag. When it comes to manager criticism, I recognize when it's right to criticize Pochettino, when it's right to criticize Ten Hag, when it's not. When I look at the chances created table and the big chances created table and the possession table, and I see Chelsea up there in all of the offensive stats, but they just can't take their chances. I cannot come up here and blame Pochettino for players missing opportunities. This is where we have to just sit here and we have to be balanced and we have to be logical. Like, I'll give you an example in this international break. The Jordanian national team, we played Saudi Arabia, we lost 2-0. We have a new manager currently. He's been in the job 2 months. Second half, we battered Saudi Arabia. We had so many chances, but we missed them all. I'm not going to blame my manager for the players missing chances. The problem is, as modern fans, we always love to immediately manager. Sometimes look at the players, bro, because the players are also letting you down. And the reality is with Chelsea, their forward line couldn't hit a barn door. And then they go and they score 4 against City. Imagine that 4 against City, they scored like 2 the week before, 1 the week before, 2 the week before that. They would have been like 9 points better off. So for me, with Chelsea Football Club, I think they're going to go away to Newcastle and win, despite Newcastle away being one of the toughest fixtures in the league. I back them to win this weekend. And I think they should feel confident, by the way, because Newcastle have hella injuries as well. That's another thing.
Yeah, they've got, looking at it here, they've got obviously Barnes, Botman, Jacob Murphy, Dan Burn, Callum Wilson, Lewis Hall might be out. Nali's obviously missing. There's doubts over Miggy Almiron. This is on Who Scored. It might have been updated by Newcastle by now. But look, I think this is, I was talking to Don. Obviously, we were recording the Squad. By the way, people go watch Squad out every morning on every Saturday morning on Rumble. So go and check that out. But we were talking about this, and I think it is like a really important game for Chelsea from the perspective of, and I want to say this in the right way, it's that sort of, you beat Spurs. You could call it a good draw against City, considering City led 3 times in that game. You're playing the best team in the world. There's some bits to improve on as well. To go away to Newcastle and lose, or to go away from Newcastle and have a rank performance, an impotent performance, it's going to leave a really sour taste in the mouth. That's what it's going to do. It's going to take away momentum. Go away to Newcastle, a tough place to go for everybody in 2023. Get a win, push yourself a little bit closer to that top 4, a little bit closer to that Champions League positions. They play Brighton after that. Then they play Manchester United. And you suddenly look at that as a sort of cluster of games, and you think to yourself, they win the next 3 matches, and suddenly Chelsea are in the hunt for a top 4 position. Now, they probably won't make the top 4, depending on how bad. Because I think Villa have been good. I do think Villa, from a top 4 title side of things will pull away. Whether Spurs keep up with you, Arsenal and City is another question. But I feel like there's going to be 3 teams in a title race. So therefore, there's only one. In recent years, there's been at least 2 top 4 spots up for grabs, where this season there's only going to be 1 because of a title race. And I don't think Chelsea are going to have enough to get there. But I think it's an important game for them to win, because what this team lacks is confidence. And they've had it in fits and starts in recent games. But if they go to away to a place like this and win, and that confidence starts to grow, and this young group start to really believe in themselves, as we saw the back end of the 21-22 season, when Arsenal, from that kind of like December right round to the end of the season, yes, they didn't quite make top 4, but you started to see these youngsters really believe in themselves. They had a good preseason. Then last year they started like a freight train. When young players start to believe in themselves, you look at Cole Palmer and what he's doing as an example. All it takes is Enzo and Caicedo and Nkunku, who's coming back, all to start reaching those levels which their talent suggests they have. And suddenly they become a very dangerous team indeed. And barring Bruno Fernandes, Cole Palmer this season in the Prem, best progressive passer, best key passer, best chance creator. Doesn't mean he doesn't make mistakes, but in terms of progressing that ball and putting it into areas where his players could potentially score, only Bruno Fernandes, factually speaking, has done more than him. He's been an absolute star signing so far. So look, I
you know what's very impressive with Chelsea? Their press. I think the Chelsea press is unbelievable.
Poch,
Chelsea, when they press, they hunt in numbers. And I think that's something that's extremely impressive for them. And I think when I look at Cole Palmer, I think he's a steal for the amount of money they got him for how long they've signed him for. That's just reality. Listen, this is modern day football. 10 years ago, when we paid 35 million for Andy Carroll, it was like, oh, they paid a lot of money for Andy Carroll. Now 35 million is like 10 million from back in the day. That's just the reality of inflation and football and all of that. But for me, when I look at Chelsea, I think they have a genuine possibility of making top 4. First of all, Spurs are going to fall off. I hope everyone now, all this Ange Postecoglou crap is gone now. It's I got a message from one Chelsea content creator, like, are you going to let the Spurs fans breathe now? I'm like, no, I won't let them breathe, because they chatted too much shit in the first 2 months of the season, so they can hold that. But Ange Postecoglou and Tottenham Hotspur now, they have to play Villa, they have to play West Ham, and they have to play Newcastle. They will not get 3 points out of the next 9. Maximum they're going to get is 2 out of 9. That's their best case scenario. They're going to get 2 out of 9. And they play Man City as well. Sorry, they're going to get 2 out of 12 maximum, in my opinion. So for me, Spurs are falling off. So now it's an opportunity for the likes of Chelsea to catch up. It's an opportunity for the likes of, even, dare I say it, Manchester United to catch up. Even other teams. That 4th spot is wide open. Let's all cut the crap here and let's just say it as it is. The 3 teams that are guaranteed the top 4 spot for me this season are City, Liverpool, and Arsenal. In no particular order, those 3 I think are better than everyone else and are going to make top 4 by hook or by crook. Now, that 4th spot, I cannot sit here right now in November and guarantee you who gets 4th spot. I can't. Hey, Newcastle might get it. Any club might get it. Aston Villa might get it. Man United, Chelsea. So it's on those clubs. Even Spurs might get it. So it's on those clubs. It's on those clubs to come up here and perform. So with Chelsea Football Club, if they beat Newcastle, they beat Brighton, and suddenly they have a 6-point swing and they're doing a lot better, there's no reason for them to stop to not have belief that they can make top 4. They definitely can. They definitely can. And people coming back like an Nkunku and others. But here's the problem with Chelsea. They need their big money signings to step up. We cannot be, the date currently is 24th November 2023. Me and Terry can't be almost 3 months into a season talking about Gallagher being your best midfielder, talking about Gallagher outperforming Caicedo and Enzo factually. Enzo and Caicedo
I don't disagree with what you're saying per se, but it's about these next 3 games are a precursor to that happening. And it's Enzo, it's Caicedo, it's Nkunku, it's Lavia when he comes in, it's Levi Colwell, it's Badia Shield, Reece James staying fit. It's these players it's coming back in and playing and getting to that Cole Palmer level. Because this season, to get into the Champions League, you've got to be, I think it's going to be a higher standard than we saw last year, because Liverpool and Arsenal, a lot of people don't think Arsenal are better, but they are. They just don't, the football just doesn't look as good. They are much harder to play against. They are much harder to break down. They are much harder to score against. Liverpool scoring, I feel like you're attacking better. You're not defending perfectly, but you're defending a lot better than you were last year. it's going to be difficult. But yeah, look, Chelsea fans, let us know what you think. Let us know what you feel about your game. How do you see it going? Raul here says, Dom Hussam is the GOAT, top guy for real.
Big up, Raul. Appreciate
Is what
it,
he
brother.
says here. Thank you very much for that super chat, my bro. Remember, I did mention we are sponsored by NordVPN today. So we have got a special deal that's available to you for Black Friday. Scan the QR code on the screen or click on the link in our description below. And you can check that out to protect up to 6 devices from hackers and people that would like to essentially steal from you. You need to make sure you're protected. But on top of that, any donations that you give to Nord, okay, in the month of November will be doubled. Donate for November and we'll double it. So even right now, if you've already got NordVPN, there's another link in our description below, link for November. Go and donate any money you can. It raises money for November, which helps men with all different manner of cancers, specifically around testicular cancer as well. So go and please support that if you are able to. On Spurs, how do you think they're going to get on against Everton against Aston Villa, this weekend? Because they're on the back of 2 back-to-back defeats. They have, and I was looking at this, I want to read this out to you before we go any further, because I saw this and thought, wow, Man United have still got the biggest list, but they have, let me read this out, through suspensions and injuries. Basuma out. Romero out. I don't know who Ashley Phillips is, but he's out. James Maddison out. Richarlison out. Van der Ven out. Suleiman out. Perisic out. Ryan Sessegnon out. And I don't know if it's been confirmed, but there are rumors, even though he was due back to play from the suspension, that Ndogi could be injured as well. How do you see them getting on at home against in-form Aston Villa, who have barely anybody out? Tyrone Mings and Buendia. That's it.
G'day, mate. Thank you for the question. Here's the thing. Tottenham Hotspur's downfall is a thing of beauty that I have called out, from time ago. And the ultimate reality is the next 4 games, you've got Aston Villa. I memorized them even without looking. Aston Villa, Manchester City, West Ham, and Newcastle. Those 12 points, they're going to get 2 points out of them. I think 2 points is maximum. Yes, 2 points is maximum out of the next 12. I think they draw against Villa. They're losing to Man City. I think they're losing they're going to lose to Newcastle, and they possibly might get a draw against West Ham. The Tottenham downfall is a thing of beauty. And if it wasn't for all the delusional Spurs fans and all the obnoxious, annoying Spurs fans that done our heads in the first 2 months of the season, no one would be saying shit about Spurs, because Spurs ain't my rival. I don't really care for Spurs like that. But all the dumb shit in the media and all this annoying Spurs fans has us behaving this way. I now look forward to watching Spurs' downfall, and I cannot wait for it. And the reality is, Aston Villa are going to get something, whether it be a draw or a win. Now, I think, out of respect to the 3-time fraudulently manager of the month, Ange Postecoglou, he got, by the way, his 3rd manager of the month. He got it for beating Luton 1-0, Crystal Palace 2-1, and beating another team. I think it was Sheffield United 2-1. Wow, so deserved. Anyway, when it comes to Ange Postecoglou, he's the 3-time manager of the month. 4 months of the season, he's won 3 of them. So he should be able to show us how he reacts when he has injuries. So now with Mr. Postecoglou, I don't think he's going to have a good day, mate. Tomorrow he's going to have a bad day. And I think Aston Villa are leaving with something. It's just, I told you guys about this Tottenham Hotspur trash. I told you guys they're 1 injury away in 8 positions out of a catastrophe. And now they have multiple injuries. Wish them all a speedy recovery. But I don't feel bad for Romero, because I didn't tell him to be a stupid, rash idiot. I don't feel bad for Udogie, because he should have been sent off 40 minutes before he gets sent off. And listen, when I have injuries, they tell us deal with it. When Terry has injuries, they tell him the same. Same with Chelsea, same with other clubs. Deal with it. It's not my fault you came to the season unprepared. So now deal with it. And, come bring me your players and show me what you can do. Ain't just so revolutionary. The article told me no manager has ever transformed a club when he first walked in like Ange Postecoglou. Okay, no problem. Show me the transformation. Now, you have 4 games. Oh, wow. Never before in Premier League has a manager had such a rapidly transformative effect on a squad, on a club, on a fan base. Lord have mercy, the absolute waffle The absolute waffle. And then they have the audacity to go like, Tottenham are no longer Spursy. Yeah, okay. We saw that when they got kicked out the Carabao Cup against Fulham. They're no longer Spursy
Do
for
you know
sure.
what's really interesting about it? This is not, by the way, Adogi's actually fine. Someone sent me a link. It was only a rumor I heard yesterday. I think it was Patrick that told us, or someone mentioned it yesterday. But in terms of the top 6 club, I can't remember if they lose to Aston Villa, and I'd love someone to get this verified. Have anyone in the top 6 in the Premier League era had a new manager come in and lose 3 games on the bounce in the Premier League at any stage in the first season? 3 on the bounce.
I mean, they probably have, to be fair.
They may have, but again, if you think about like Man United, I don't think in our first, maybe Moyes might have done it, but it's a rare thing, especially not in their. But that's what I mean by how you can manipulate these things. It's probably happened, but I guarantee. I say it's a pretty sure bet to say no top 6 team has ever hired a new manager where in their opening 13 games they've lost 3 on the bounce in any sequence in that opening 13 games. So you could turn that into like the biggest negative ever. And that's the problem when you make sweeping statements. I saw an article that was comparing him to Fergie, and I just thought to myself, why would you ever do that? That Fergie is, if he isn't the greatest, he's one of the greatest managers of all time. Postecoglou doesn't even get in the front door of a conversation like that, and you're using his name. And as I say, I wouldn't do it, by the way. If they lose this game, it's bad. But I'm not going to manipulate it and work out and find a stat and go, oh my God, he's the first manager in 30 years to take over a club, a team that's played in the Champions League and lose 3 on the bounce in their opening 13 games. There's probably a stat there. You could word it in a more clever way that makes it sound horrendous.
Spurs were in the Champions League last season as well. People need to remember
they're a top 6. We know what top 6 means. When you're part of the traditional top 6, it's the same as the old top 4. You're in and around that Champions League conversation. But it's just one of those things. I think you've just got to. There was listen, I'd actually like him.
You've got to calm down, and I told them calm down, and they didn't calm down.
It's crazy to me.
And by the way, can we stop acting like Postecoglou is a new manager? This is another thing that just gets on my nerve. Guys, Ange Postecoglou has been managing since 1996. I was 1 year old when Ange Postecoglou started managing. I am now 28, and he's still a manager. So can we stop acting like he's not an Arteta, he's not a Lampard, he's not some sort of new manager on the rise, like, trying to find his way. This guy is old. He's been managing. He's been managing for 20 plus years. So we can't sit up here and act like he's some sort of new guy. Putting him in a sentence with Ferguson alone is disrespectful. He's not even on the levels. He's not even like 4 or 5 tiers below that. Ange Postecoglou. Respectfully, coming into a club, playing offensive football and improving players is something we've seen over and over and over and over and over.
Do you know what happens in terms of the dialogue? Spurs have improved this year. They've looked excellent. I think I've been really impressed with them. But what ends up happening in these conversations is people get annoyed. Me as a United fan, when I see Fergie's name put next to him, that's going to annoy me. What are you doing? It shouldn't be there. By the way, thinking about that, Graham Potter must have lost at least 3 games on the bounce last year at some point. So that probably has been done by somebody else. But you get the angle that I'm coming from. There's this element of, but you could word it as a manager that had a preseason. I bet if you went through and looked at all Champions League contending teams from the start of the Premier League until now that have started the season with a new manager, you'll find very few that have lost 3 in a row within their opening 13 games. Now, imagine manipulating that into a stat to make him sound like he's had an awful start. That is the same difference to me to taking a very good start and speaking like he's completely fixed the club faster than anybody else has fixed the club, comparing him to Fergie and gaslighting Tottenham fans into thinking their squad was okay. And that's why I felt really sorry for the likes of Sav and Kate and Alan, who whenever they said, look, I think we've really improved, I'm enjoying it, but calm down, guys, I don't think we'll win the title. They were getting so much abuse, and not so much from Football Terrace. We've got Jerome and Cal and a lot of our members that support Spurs. Again, level-headed. But from my point of view, it was just a bit crazy. And this is what happens. The other end of it, when you start to lose, rivals go in. They go in because it's more fun to watch. And sometimes as fans, your job is to help control the narrative about your club, help to control because now the pressure's building. There's probably more pressure on Spurs now because of the kind of vitriol and the exaggeration that the media gave them. And it's all part and parcel. But let's have a little look at some super chats. Luke Skywalker says, smash the like button, people. Thank you, Luke. Appreciate that, bro. Thank you. I'll come to that one in a minute. Support Spurs, and I was never one of them fans. If we get top 5, which I think gets you Champions League, I'll be happy. Still a fan of yours, Sam.
I appreciate you, Slick. And you know, Slick, by the way, let me address this. I have nothing against the Spurs fans because you know what's funny? Everything I say, they're just saying on their own YouTube channels. I snuck into Spurs YouTube in the chat. I didn't even say a comment or anything because I know they'll ban me if they recognize me in the chat. I just heard them speak. I just sat down for 4 or 5 minutes, and guess what? They're saying the same shit Hussam said. But Hussam's delivery is from a Liverpool fan, and Hussam says things like an asshole sometimes, so they get upset. That's your problem, not mine. If you're being sensitive, I'll be honest with you. Everything I've said is just happening in front of our very own eyes. So, yeah.
You're not 28. You're much older than 28. You look about 35, bruv.
28. I'm 28. Listen, this is
You
Middle
look
Eastern
old,
beans
G.
right here.
You
I
look old,
I can
G.
shave my beard off right now in front of you.
You look I'm 38 in a couple of weeks, and we look about the same age.
Yeah, but the difference between me and you is when you get to 40, you look 50. That's the difference.
No, I'm 38. Okay, no grey.
Listen, you might be an outlier. You might be an outlier.
You know, it's interesting. As you get older, you don't realize your age by looking at yourself. It's only when you're around younger people. Where was I the other day? I had to go my daughter's parents' evening, and the teacher sat down with me, and I was like, they're kids. They're not. They're 25, 26 years old, but they look so young. I'm like, oh my God, I'm getting old. But anyway, we digress. Terry, yeah, the transplant definitely makes me look younger, but yeah, there we go. It probably is the beard. Again, if I go clean shaven, I look younger as well. I always had a baby face growing up. I always looked to. I was one of the.
If I shave my beard, I look 14. So I'm not trying.
When I was younger, I was similar. I was that guy that always looked younger than I was. When I was 18, I still looked like I was 14. But remember my nan saying to me, "You'll enjoy that when you get older." Because I've got a mate, by the way, at 15, he looked about 25. You should see him now.
Big up Manny's comment, funniest comment of this whole stream. He said 28 plus add-ons.
We have an expression over here when people say their age, we think they're lying. We say, "Oh yeah, 28 plus VAT," because that's like a bit of that on top.
Plus add-ons, big up. That made me laugh. Big up to you, man.
Ricky here says, Terry, the amount of screen time you gave Tottenham is not proportional to their relevance amongst the top boys. Big up Hussam, Thumb City tomorrow. Thumb City. Oh, that's an image that is there.
Ricky's probably an Arsenal fan, I believe. Thank you, my brother.
This is an interesting question. What do you guys define as progress in sport, whether it's football, NFL, basketball? Terry looks great at 38. What's your week when you come? What my week out when it comes to eating? Just anything that's bad for me. Pringles is my biggest thing. My diet's terrible. My diet isn't terrible. Like I just ate like a tuna salad, and I've still got half of it left here. I ordered it from a nice cafe, like a granola thing, right? It's healthy. I just eat too much. That's what it really. But what do you see as progression in sport, Sam?
My weakness in eating as well, because I'm currently on a cutting diet, because I have plans to have a ring over here soon. But see, announced on the terrace. You know what it is? My weakness is everything that's unhealthy, but not Pringles. I feel like you could have Pringles, like 3 Pringles chips, and then just close the thing.
No, I eat about 4 boxes a week.
I've never been one of them dessert guys. I've never been like, oh my God, I really crave chocolate. I've never been that guy. I've always been like food, like I'm talking burgers, pizza, shit. Like that's what it gets me. But anyway, success in sports is always contextual, every single time. When Jurgen Klopp walked in, sometimes I'll use my club as an example so people didn't get offended. I could use Postecoglou as an example, but people get annoyed. So I'll use my own club. When Klopp first walked in as Liverpool manager, Liverpool had been 25 years without a Premier League title. Liverpool Football Club have been up, down, mostly down. Liverpool Football Club failed to keep their good players. Liverpool Football Club were not moving like a big club or a serious club. So Liverpool Football Club steadily progressed. Fourth place in a Champions League final, winning the Champions League, winning the Premier League, keeping your best players. All of these things are signs of progression. Having world-class players interested in joining you, whether you would want to do it or not, whether you do it or not is different. But even the thought of Mbappe even uttering the words Liverpool would have been a dream 10 years ago. So Klopp genuinely improved the Liverpool Football Club. Same thing with Progression is contextual. So if a manager comes into Tottenham Hotspur after the mess they've had, Ain't Postecoglou, factually speaking, is progressing the club. Now, let's not overdo the progress that he's done. So good football, stuff like that, then getting results. For me, I'm with the Pep approach. Establish a style of play, and that style of play will get you results. Even if at the start it's bumpy, you will eventually get there. Gradual progression, 100%.
Yeah, I think I echo what you say, and relativity is important as well, because you look at a club like Luton being in the Premier League, based on where they've come from, the size of the club, the income of the football club. It's a huge achievement. It's huge progression to even get to this stage because of the size they are. And I know that there are lots of people out there that don't view that as progression. If you're not winning the big trophies, then you're a failure. But that is just, for me, an overly elitist, exaggerated standard where, it's almost like putting the pressure on your children. You want to learn to play the piano. Well, if by the time you're 8 years old, you're not as good as, if you're not as good as by the time you're 8 years old as Beethoven was at composing music, you're a failure. That's essentially the standard you are putting on. If you apply that logic to every walk of life, where unless you're the out and outright best, you're a failure. I mean, how miserable would the world be? That's why I can't take it overly seriously. When I look at what Man United spend, I expect us with that expenditure to be at the top or to be competing at the top. But you can't with a team that has an income less than we pay our reserve team players, right? Over the course of a year. You can't expect them to compete year in, year out with the big boys, especially if they don't have the ownership to do it. So, and at the same time, the same people I see that turn around and say like FFP is to stop anybody joining the elite clubs. These are the same guys who are saying you're a crap football club if you're not competing with the elite guys. But you said FFP stops them anyway. So how's it even plausible? But yeah, it's a little bit strange to me. And yeah, that's how I would view progression. This is not to mention, even if Man United get a Champions League spot, they won't be able to play in the Champions League next year. Look, I've seen that rumor go around because of the ownership in Nice. Manchester City have one of their subsidiary teams top at the moment of La Liga. No one's talking about it because it won't happen. You've got,
you know why? You know who owns that club? Guardiola's brother.
He's part of it, but there's also other like City Group.
They tell me I'm crazy for thinking it's shady. They tell me I'm crazy.
Hang on, but no, I get you. RB Leipzig and RB Salzburg both playing the same thing. Man United will structure the ownership in the same way that Nice will structure the ownership, so there is no clash. It's not going to be a problem. It's a nothing story for me. Even though it's correct, if Sir Jim Ratcliffe by name owns both, they won't let it happen, but they will change it and they'll work things out. This here says, sorry, already done that one there. Before we move on to the big game, I wanted to ask you about Arsenal. We know they've had a lot of stuff in the press the last few days with Arteta being charged and not other managers. They've been called out a lot over this international break, but they're away against Brentford. How do you see that game going?
Arsenal fans, you know me and you have a nice little alliance going on in this channel. You get me? We have a nice little alliance. We're not really enemies or anything. But one thing I did warn you about at the start of the season, is that whole Raya Ramsdale situation. I told you, you need to have an established number one and established number two. It never works to have two great keepers in the same club. Ederson, Ortega, Alisson, Kelleher, De Gea, Romero. Successful examples of the past. You can keep going on and on. Check. Cudicini. Yeah, Cudicini is decent, but he'll never have a conversation over overtaking Czech. So the reality is, the fact that Ramsdale is going to play tomorrow because of the whole Raya coming on loan thing shows me, so sorry guys, just the Ramsdale pressure and the interview I saw, I think this game ends in a draw. And the reason why I think this game ends in a draw is purely on Ramsdale. I think Ramsdale will genuinely make errors leading to goals. It has nothing to do with Arsenal or Arteta or the players. No, Raya is not eligible to play because of the whole loan thing. So I just genuinely believe because Ramsdale is playing tomorrow, remember what we said? Director, camera 17, zoom, Raya, you know, as soon as Ramsdale makes a mistake. So that whole situation is fucked up for them, in my opinion. But I think they get to draw tomorrow. I'm not going to go as far as say Brentford win. I don't think Brentford will win tomorrow. But I still think like that whole Ramsdale situation, man, like Man United have had consistent, successful clubs and versions across the last 30 years. I don't remember them ever having two keepers of similar quality. It was always defined who's second place, to be honest with you. Sometimes you might say, like, maybe De Gea when he first came in compared to like Lindegaard and stuff, but
Yeah, but
everyone
you
knew
look.
De Gea was
But if you look where Lindegaard's career went versus David De
versus De
Gea's,
Gea.
he
Exactly.
weren't as good. No,
Yeah, so
you are right in that. Yeah. Look, I understand it. Can you imagine after what? And this is why Ramsdale's dad should be quiet, because I believe in the football gods. I don't believe they're real gods. In case anybody's offended, it's just figuratively speaking. I believe that you can tempt fate. I believe that you can, at the very least, your big mouth can sometimes get you in trouble, because he said, like, Raya's not holding up trees. When's my son going to get a chance? This is the chance. If Ramsdale makes mistakes, if Ramsdale concedes weak goals, his dad's words are going to look so bad. His dad's words are going to echo through Arsenal eternity for in terms of Ramsdale's individual career. David Raya's not ripping up trees. God damn it, when's my son going to get a chance? Paraphrasing slightly. He's got a chance. He has to be, and that's why his dad shouldn't speak, because Ramsdale has to be perfect now. If Ramsdale had said nothing, if your dad had said nothing, then if he messed up, you could make the argument of, well, of course he messed up. You know, he's trying really hard, he's working hard, and he's been ousted, and his confidence is low. But now that he's family, obviously through things he said, when's my son going to get a chance? He's ready. He's good enough. He has to be ready. There is no excuses now, and that's why sometimes I think keeping your powder dry is such an important element of not just football, but professionalism in general. When you know, there's a saying we used to have here during World War II, which was loose lips sink ships. And I think there's an element of truth to that. Sometimes just keep your mouth buttoned. So it's an intriguing one, to be honest with you. Terry, this is unduly dramatic regarding Ramsdale's dad. This was so trivial that's not even worth discussing. Do you believe it was trivial what his dad said?
I feel like people's relatives just need to leave their footballer alone. Same thing with Maguire as well. I know his kind of sister and brother and stuff kind of got criticism a little bit, and it's fair. Sometimes just let the player do the talking on the pitch. And Ramsdale, to be fair to him, has not done the talking on the pitch this season. Let's also be frank and honest. Like, neither has Raya, to be fair. Raya is not out here being like a shining star or anything, but he's been better than Ramsdale, in my opinion. So for me, sometimes you just have to let the player do the talking and just leave that on the pitch. And you know, social media has kind of made things a lot bigger than they were in the past. Maybe you know, Ramsdale's dad, of course, grew up in a different era where things like that would have happened, but it would just been like a column on a newspaper or something. Now it's all over the world and everyone sees it, and it's news from US to Japan, and in 30 minutes everyone can find it. So 30 seconds even for it.
I hear you, and a few people saying I misquoted his dad. Well, I said I was paraphrasing, so of course you could call that a misquote. I understand that it may not be that big a deal to some people, but this is what you're missing. It will be turned into a big deal, and that pressure will be applied. So you just keep quiet. He said some nice things about Ray. He said how good a guy he was. I listened to it. I listened to the whole thing. But it's when's my son needs a chance. David Ray is not ripping up trees. It puts pressure on him. So it's not about. And you see what I did. I'm being flippant when I'm saying what I did. The media are going to do the same thing, and you know, Sam's right. That camera, Sky Sports, will be ready at any moment to zoom in on him. And if Ray is in the ground, which you probably will be, there'll be a camera on him ready to zoom in. That is why you've got to, like I said earlier, you've got to try and control the narrative as best you can, because it takes away media pressure. Same thing said about individuals and players as well. It's important. But I do think Arsenal will win, to be fair. I do think Arsenal will win. I think Arsenal just, like, Brentford are a good team. I'm not denying it. I just think Arsenal, they're not going to, I just don't think they'll break Arsenal down. And Arsenal seem to be slightly better away from home when I watch them. So I think Arsenal will do it. I'm going to go 3-1 to Arsenal, actually.
I wouldn't be shocked if Arsenal win. I just don't trust Ramsdale. I think Ramsdale has a mistake in him, and I think he will have mistakes tomorrow. And by the way, Arsenal are fucked either way. Because if Arsenal win and Ramsdale has an unbelievable performance, then it gets even more exemplified because now they're going to go like, oh, next Champions League game, who's going to play in goal? Is it going to be Ramsdale and Raya? And Arteta is probably going to give Ramsdale a chance because he hasn't had that many chances. And then he plays the Champions League game and they keep a clean sheet again, and Ramsdale's unbelievable. Then it becomes, ooh, who should play on the weekend? And it's just a cycle for me. That's the thing.
I hear you. And Si, I know you wasn't calling me out, and I can take criticism and challenge. It's absolutely fine. No one gets blocked for that here. I promise you. This year says Rambo will smash it tomorrow. Raya is number one. There's a vid on YouTube of Raya's long ball passing since joining, and it's incredible. Been massively overlooked by the media whilst causing a storm in a teacup for drama. Yeah, I understand that. I get where you're coming from, but that's the same with Man United. Like, if you notice that, like with Onana was making mistakes in those opening games, there was so much talk. He's been really good the past 4 or 5, and no one's saying anything. So the rest of the team hasn't. Ramsdale faced them in the cup game. This is true.
How many times Neji mentioned De Gea in a post-match reaction video?
I support Arsenal, Man City, and Liverpool all at once. What do you guys think? I'm addicted to supporting the team that wins.
My brother, that's kind of not how it works. The thing that makes football beautiful is the fact that it is a tribal sport, and I believe it should continue to be tribal. If Man United drop down to League 2, I will find a way to hate on them. It's just how it goes. That's what makes this sport beautiful. So you need to choose a club, akhi, and support them. And it's crazy how you just support the 3 clubs in a title race. So like that's mad, Rishi. But fair enough, to each their own.
It is. Afternoon. Be happy with your age, gentlemen. I'm going to be 50 in 2 years. Enjoy being under 40. Life gets harder after 45. Big up yourself, Dinesh. Hope you're well, brother. And keep your chin up. Obviously, a massive game this weekend. How do you think? This weekend? It's in, what's it in, like not even 12 hours, like 9 hours time. It's really close. Sorry, about 18 hours time. How do you see this going? Liverpool going to the Etihad. Talk to me.
Yo, this is as confident I've felt from going to the Etihad since 2018. Now, let me just address quickly the people with no balls on the chat. If you start saying anything like, Hussam, don't jinx it. If I said City will win, you'll start bitching. So stop being an idiot. So anyway, Hussam doesn't jinx anything because I called the Spurs downfall. Exactly. Thank you very much. And I said it's going to be a 3-way title race. And I said we shouldn't sell Mo Salah. Give me credit where credit's due when I make the right predictions. And I called the Man United downfall. And I said Caicedo will regret it. See, a lot of stuff I say come true. Now, speaking of coming through, sometimes you need to recognize improvements. Anfield is one of the toughest stadiums, if not the toughest stadium in Europe to go to. However, in the English Premier League, on a real, I think the Etihad is the toughest stadium to go to currently as things stand. Not because of atmosphere, not because their fans make an atmosphere or anything, just because they're really good at home. Yeah, well, you want me to big up Man City atmosphere? You want me to lie to the public? I'll never do that. So, yeah, because they're really good at home. But at the same time, all records come to an end. All records come to an end. Virgil van Dijk's Anfield record was ended by Leeds United last season, and they got relegated. I think Liverpool are the underdog out of respect for Manchester City. But at the same time, I'm backing my club, and I think we will win. And I think tomorrow this record ends. And I think this is our best opportunity to win at the Etihad in 5 years. I'll be honest with you. This is genuinely our best opportunity.
You haven't won at the Etihad in the Premier League since 2015.
Yeah, no problem. So, we won in 2018, though. It was the same team, same club, same
Champions League. Champions League. In the Premier League, you haven't done it since 2015. Why is it why is it that now is the best time to do that, in your opinion?
It's the best time to do that because City aren't looking at their best. And, Liverpool's front line can do damage. See, let me just address something quickly because people always, whenever they come up against City, they always kind of show the scared mentality. Jurgen Klopp, all eyes is on him because Jurgen Klopp tomorrow will either win us the game or lose us the game via his decisions. I have never been I've never looked at the game and went like, this manager is going to control the outcome of the game more than anything else. When it comes to Pep Guardiola and the team, if Pep Guardiola goes into the game with the same midfield he went against Chelsea, which is Rodri, Alvarez, and Bernardo Silva, he's signing his team's death note on the pitch. He's simply signing his team's death note because Rodri will just get overrun again, just like he did against Chelsea. And people blamed Rodri. It should have been Rodri who's been blamed because Rodri had too much to deal with. However, tomorrow's game, Darwin Núñez must start, Luis Diaz must start, Mo Salah must start. These are the three informed forward. Luis Diaz just scored two goals away against Brazil. Uruguay beat Argentina for the first time in 13 years. Darwin Núñez scored against them, and then he scored twice at Bolivia. Mo Salah, there's no need to say anything. I think he's been one of the best players in the world, if not the best player, and I think he's been the best player in the league this season. That front line right there will make the Manchester City back four so scared and have shivered thoughts heading into that game. Now, Sterling cooked Kyle Walker, so I expect Diaz to do an even better job. Darwin Núñez has pace in behind that's frightening for any centre back. And with Mo Salah, I think he's going to roast the shit out of Guardiola. Now, the onus is on the... Oh, absolutely. Now, the onus is on the midfield. That is where this game is going to be very important. Rodri is the best DM in the world. But at the same time, Rodri shouldn't be Fabinho or Casemiro, where they give him 30 acres of space to cover. So Pep Guardiola, in my opinion, should go with Núñez or Kovacic next to Rodri. Despite their quality, they still give them more balance. The one thing is, for me, Van Dijk and Konate need to be on it tomorrow. Van Dijk and Konate need to be on it, and they need to be awake. And I would start Konate tomorrow. I would not start Matip because we need pace and power. So for me, I believe in a Liverpool win tomorrow, but it's going to be a close game. And I think we win it. I know you probably don't want the scoreline already, but just to kind of give you context of what I'm thinking, I'm going 3-2 Liverpool win. I think there will be plenty of goals in the game. I think it will be extremely entertaining. And the one thing I will say, just to kind of round off my thoughts on the game, Chris Kavanagh and the VAR room and all the referees, don't get involved. Unless there is a crystal clear decision, let Pep and Klopp play against each other and may the best man win. That is what we all want. City fans, Liverpool fans, whoever. Don't let the referee get involved. We want football. We want to watch football. I want to see Pep take on Klopp. I want to see Manchester City take on Liverpool. I want to see one of the best games. Of course, I want Liverpool to win, but I do not want the referee to make a decision that's going to influence the outcome of the game. Do not Tottenham Hotspur Liverpool this game. Do not make decisions that influence the outcome of this game. Do not Chelsea Man City this game where Haaland's penalty shouldn't have been given. It's always decisions like this. Let the VAR and the people with 15 replays make the decision. Don't make the decision unless you're 100% certain, because I do not want the referees to affect the game, the outcome of the game. And for me, Liverpool Football Club are going to be victorious tomorrow, and we will end this weekend top of the league.
Big claim. I can see a draw. I just don't know. 8 years. 8 years it's been.
All records come to an end. The forward line, just think of all the chances Chelsea had. Think of all the chances Wolves had. Think of all the chances that those teams had against Manchester City. Now imagine that falling to the likes of Salah or Núñez or Diaz. That's why, for me, I have a different energy about this game. Our forward line, listen, I know Liverpool aren't the best team in the world. We're not. We need a DM. There's a lot going on at our club. I recognize that. I still don't like my owners. But the reality is our forward line scares any defense in the world. This is one strength that no one here can deny. It's our forward line. So, yeah, for me, the forward line for Liverpool Football Club is just scary for everyone. Honest opinion.
Listen, I hear where you're coming from. I do. I think you've got a really good chance. Are you not concerned about Tsimikas having to deal with Foden or Doku?
I am, but I'm someone, as you remember,
and Trent defensively as well. You know what that can be like.
Trent's been better than Walker this season defensively.
Based on what? Based on
performances. Trent's had one bad game. If you want to say two, the Newcastle, no problem. Luton away, he was bad defensively. Newcastle away, he was bad defensively. No problem. I'll concede. Other than that, Trent has locked up some of the best wingers in this league this season. If people have been watching Liverpool closely this season, first of all, I know it's not Terry's fault or the chat's fault or anyone's fault. I know Terry watches all the football and all that. I'm just saying generally because the Premier League scheduling has been fucked up, where they put kind of like 4 good games on at the same time. That's where the Premier League fucked up. But Liverpool this season, Trent has not been cooked or roasted this season. Like it's just that Anthony Gordon Newcastle game and Luton where he had that moment with Penza, I think his name is. That's the only time where he had a bad game. Other than that, I've seen Trent lock up Mitoma. I've seen him have solid defensive game after defensive game after defensive game. And by the way, even what's it called? Even currently as things stand, Liverpool have the strongest defense in the league on paper alongside Arsenal. In terms of like, if we're just simply talking about goals conceded, Liverpool and Arsenal both have 10 goals conceded, which is less than anyone else. So factually speaking, they have a strong defense. I think with Tsimikas, I'm someone who backs Tsimikas a lot more than some of my fan base, and you probably recall this from last season. And I would actually start Tsimikas because Tsimikas in the last game against Brentford had 2 assists, had an unbelievably solid performance going forward and going back, and that's what Tsimikas is capable of. He is capable of having such performances. Now, is he capable of a stinker? Yes, but that does not mean I'm going to go defensive and fuck up the balance of the whole team by putting Joe Gomez in there. I'm not going to do that. But if he does go Joe Gomez, I understand why he done it, type thing. But I would go Tsimikas personally. And you know why I would go Tsimikas furthermore? Let me just say one thing. Whenever teams come up against Manchester City, their first thought is, how can I stop City? That's not my first thought. My first thought is, how can I punch City first? This is the problem. People always come up against Man City with this already defeatist attitude of, how can I stop Rodri? How can I stop Haaland? How can I stop this? How about you punch them first? Instead of you getting punched and then punched again and then punched again and then getting up. Look at what Chelsea done. Chelsea gave us a blueprint. Arsenal also gave us a blueprint. Like all these 2 clubs right there is perfect examples. I don't have to go into a game and keep worrying about Haaland and Rodri or anything because I'll forget about my own self. How about my own weapons? How about my nuclear weapon in Mo Salah? How about my nuclear weapon in Darwin Núñez's space in behind?
Well,
How about my nuclear weapon in Diaz? That's the reality.
It's a good point you raised. We saw this in boxing only a couple of weekends ago, where Francis Ngannou just went, you know what? I'm just gonna, if I get hit, I get hit. I'm gonna throw bombs. And I think he literally physically caught him, but he caught Tyson Fury off guard. And I think there's a really important point you make. City are going to beat most teams that sit back against them. And I've got a friend of mine who I grew up with called Michael Page. He's a really good MMA fighter, and he fights with his hands down. And a lot of people say, well, are you not scared of being knocked out? And his response ever since we were kids were, so people that have their arms up don't get knocked out.
Thank you.
So sometimes you just got to fight or play the way that you're comfortable with. This here from Marco, says, this guy just said Trent is better than Walker this season. I had enough of this dude, Terry, is what Marco says.
Can you keep up that super chat? You could probably zoom into it. Isn't that a Chelsea kit?
Looks like Chelsea.
Yeah, I've always said inferiority complex. Reece James syndrome. That's just... No Chelsea fan will ever give Trent credit till the end of time, till Judgment Day. No Chelsea fan will ever give Trent credit. It's impossible. So, yeah.
I hear you on that.
Bro, if we're saying generally, fair, but if we're saying this season, there's something called form. There's something called form, ladies and gentlemen. Kyle Walker just got roasted against Sterling 2 weeks ago. Were you guys watching? Kyle Walker got roasted against Mitoma. Kyle Walker's had bad defensive games this season. Trent, on the other hand, locked up Mitoma. Did you guys watch Brighton away? Trent has had so many good defensive performances. You know, it's just Luton away and Newcastle away. Those are the 2 bad games he had this season. Other than that, the 11 other games, he's been very good.
ASS Hussam is pure entertainment. He mustn't switch up on us after he gets hitched and start being soft on us. Keep them straight facts up, is what IS says here. George says a draw would be nice. Yeah, Arsenal fans praying for that draw. Honesty here, it says 2-1 to Liverpool. Darwin brace. Only concern is obviously Tsimikas.
That's a fair concern as well.
Boys, want your boys' opinion on if Darwin Núñez will ever be world class. Love you, boys, especially you, Hussam.
I appreciate you, Rishi. Thank you so much for the love. I think with Darwin Núñez, look, I said that coming into the season, I refused to start season 2, episode 1 by doing the same shit I did in season 1. All this, he gets into good position scrap, I'm not interested. deliver in front of goal, whether it be assists, whether it be goals, whether it be good performances. Against Brentford, Salah scored twice and Darwin Núñez was still a better forward. You know why? Because Darwin Núñez held up the ball well. He linked up play well. He got himself involved. And that's what I want. Put the ball in the back of the net. Be Jogo Bonito. Get me an assist. Get me a goal. Do something like that and we'll always give you credit. But I had an agreement with the Darwin Núñez sexuals before this game. I said, guys, we're going to sign a treaty. In this game, there's no such thing as he caused chaos. He needs to take his chances. I'm like, you know what, Hussam, we agree. He needs to take his chances. So, yeah, the agreement has been signed with the Darwin FC.
I hear you on that. Hussam, good day, mate. The frauds have been exposed.
Good day, mate. Captain Sal, shrimp on the barbie, Vegemite sandwiches on the house.
This year, same prediction as you, 3-2 Liverpool. Anton here says, when is the Hungarian Joe Allen going to go above 5 GA?
Let me expose Anton. Anton is a Chelsea fan who, if you ask him who's better, Hazard or Salah, both are forwards, he'll tell you, it's not all about GA, Hussam. It's not all about GA. Because as a footballer, either Hazard is clear. Hazard this, Hazard that. Now he wants to compare midfielders using GA because he's a fraud. I have made this example before and I'll say it again. No Liverpool midfielder will ever have high GA because that's not their role in their team. Dominic Szoboszlai is not operating in the 10. He's not operating as an attacking mid. He's operating as a box-to-box midfielder. And actually, if you look at the numbers, one of the highest work rate midfielders in the whole league. And he's been helping out defensively, and he's been doing so much for the team. I don't need Szoboszlai to get GA because I have Salah, because I have Núñez, because I have Diaz, because I have Jota, because I have Gakpo. I can live without any of my midfielders having GA. And no Liverpool midfielder will ever get GA anyway. So, yeah.
There we go. Szoboszlai is going to run rings around City's midfield. Yes, baby. KDB.
He's baby KDB.
Oh, he's baby KDB. Sorry. 4-2 Liverpool. Also, Núñez clear of that tap-in merchant Parland.
I think if you want to say Darwin Núñez is maybe better as a footballer, then fair enough. But people need to respect goal scoring. That's the one thing I will never disrespect.
Haaland just in terms of goals is nowhere.
Yeah, in terms of goals,
there's been a lot of talk this week though about City due to what happened with Everton, and we were speaking.
Look at him. See, when I mentioned Hazard, look at Anton. Right? I know. I am the antidote to Chelsea fans. I am the biggest antidote to Chelsea fans. I walked into a Chelsea space with 11 Chelsea speakers, and I said, "You guys, you know what? Ability is so important. Hazard's better than Salah." And then I stopped the space. I'm like, "Who's better, Gerrard or Lampard?" They're all like, "Oh, Lampard's the best goal-scoring midfielder. It's Lampard scored this many goals." I'm the antidote to your fan base. Sit on the floor, my brother, Anton. But thank you.
Obviously, it's been a big week talking about City, the allegations, the charges. I wanted to ask you a question. I've asked it of everybody on Straight Facts this week, and I want to get your opinions. If they're found guilty of the major charges of financial doping, do you think their titles should be stripped?
Yeah, of course. If you cheated, you should be stripped of your titles. What the hell? When Juve cheated, they got stripped. Other clubs, they got stripped. It's as simple as that. If they are found guilty, then yeah. And we saw with Everton, you know why the Everton thing is dangerous for Man City? Because it sets the precedence. If you're going to tell me one charge is equal to 10 points, then City are fucked, respectfully. It's just simple as that. So for me, yes, of course, they need to be stripped of their titles. Of course.
The reason I ask is, so Sava on Wednesday on Straight Facts kind of said, yes, if they're found guilty, but he doesn't even think they'll be, he thinks if they're found guilty, it will be 8 points, 9 points, 10 points deducted. Lee Gunner had a different flavor. He essentially said, if you're not cheating, you're not trying. So essentially, it doesn't even matter if you cheat.
Edgy, man.
Do you think that's what it is? You think he's just being edgy on it?
Listen, Lee Gunner is being edgy. I know Lee. I speak to Lee. Listen, Lee is just edgy sometimes. It is what it is with Lee. I think Lee hates Arsenal too much. Like, he just hates on Arsenal too much. Lee just wants to find a way to just not get Arteta a Premier League title. Because if City gets stripped of their titles, it means Arteta has won a Premier League, and now Lee has to back him. So,
I get City fans defending City all the way to every step of the way. I get City fans doing it. Lee isn't the only one. I see a lot of people though that like United fans that hate our club, Arsenal fans that hate their club. I think City have been used as the benchmark for so long that if all that gets taken away because it turns out they've been cheating for a decade, where does that leave you in your football standards? because those standards weren't real. Those standards were a facade. It's like all those people that really believe the Liver King. Remember the Liver King, that big muscly guy that said that he basically eats raw liver and goat testicles, and that's the reason he's in that shape. And it turned out it was roids. If you're someone that was sitting there eating goat's testicles and eating raw liver and drinking some weird milk for like 3 years, and then it turns out that this guy was a fraud, the problem. It's when you either like, I get the frustration they're going through, but it's been a weird one this week because a lot of people don't think they should be stripped. They think it should just be like, no media outlets think they should be stripped. They're all just saying deduct points. That's enough. I don't get that. I actually think stripping the titles is more important than deducting them points or relegating them.
Yeah,
I really do.
Don't cheat. Simple as. Why?
Because if you just
listen,
if they lose 30 points, go on.
People want us to say, if the court rules Manchester City is innocent, then you both have to shut the fuck up about the City thing and blah blah blah. Okay, so if they're ruled guilty, then you still get stripped of your titles. And by the way, they'll be stripped of their titles with the media, with the public. Sorry. With the public opinion. With public opinion, they will get stripped of their titles because no one will respect what Manchester City has done. By the way, people don't respect it anyway to begin with, but now it's going to be like from low respect to no respect. No one's going to respect what Manchester City done. No Manchester City fan can ever speak to us, 100%. And the reality is the titles need to be stripped 100% if they're found guilty. It's just as simple as that. And we all know they're guilty anyway, and we all know there's shady business over there. But anytime you speak on the word, your proof, and then you try to prove it to them, and they're like, "Oh, we have to wait for the court." Okay, why you ask me for proof then? Just go. By the way, just Google currently after this stream finishes. Go Google Guardiola's brother Girona and enjoy your reading, you guys, and look at Girona being top of the league as well.
You think that's more corruption?
According to the article, Pep Guardiola's brother bought a major share in Girona just a little bit before the takeover from the City Group happened. You're going to tell me that's a coincidence as well? How many coincidences are there? How many? How many coincidences before we have to call bullshit on it? We all know they cheated. Let's just cut the crap over here. But whether they'll be found cheated in the court or not, we'll see. It will be found.
Yeah, look, I kind of feel like it's a weird one, especially around stripping stuff, because obviously some of the titles they've won in the last few years are not connected to this investigation. But it's all... But I feel like City's income now is real. And that's based on 10 years of success. However, in multiple other parts of the world, if I break the law to earn money today and then invest it in a business that I turn into $1 million business, you can still have it all taken away because of how you started it. And I feel as though it's such an intriguing one. And obviously the reports are that Liverpool are pushing hard to get a resolution for this in the summer. Do you see it being that quickly? And why do you personally think it's taking so long?
I think Lee was right on this side of things where he's like, you know what? It's just too many charges. That's the reality as well, because it's 115 charges. Someone ban Ikram in the chat as well, because you cannot be death mocking in the chat. Please, someone ban him. I think with the whole situation with them, I just think shit. What was the question again? Sorry, I just got distracted.
About like how long it's taking to get it done.
Oh yeah, because of the amount of charges. I think when it's 115 charges and you essentially have like the most expensive lawyers in world football representing Manchester City, then of course it's going to be difficult and it's going to take a long time. It's going to be a long process, and they can just appeal and appeal and appeal and appeal, and we'll see what happens. But listen, we all know the reality is, if Manchester City are found of cheating, then the titles need to be stripped. Simple as. We cannot sit up here and allow a club that essentially cheated to have all these Premier League titles. And by the way, if you want to award it to nobody, also have no problem. Award it to nobody, but strip them of their titles so justice is served. I'm not even asking for you to give me the titles. If they are found guilty, strip them of the titles. And simple as.
I agree. This is just Terry bringing up stupid discussions because all these news about City was brought up for guys like you and Hassam to be running your mouths without using your brain with jealous feelings. I mean, me talking about the news article didn't make the news articles appear. I don't have the power to make professional journalists do years worth of investigations into football clubs. I don't have the power by talking on my YouTube channel to make the Premier League and UEFA investigate a football club. We're talking about it because it must be discussed. If it's a talking point to speak about Rafael Varane and Ten Hag having an argument, how can it not be a talking point to discuss the potential of Manchester City and Chelsea that have been discussed this week, majorly circumventing and cheating rules for over a decade, which could be provable, could be proof towards how they achieve some great success, which has made them juggernauts in football. If an argument between a manager and a defender is big news, how can this not be? For me, speaking facts, this is you not wanting it to be a discussion point because you don't want people to express an opinion. And we all have different opinions. And I think Patrick said earlier, like, you've got to read the cases more. It's not the same as Everton's. It isn't the same as Everton's. It's far worse than Everton's. Far worse than Everton's, if it is true. And we've seen very small amounts in the media about based on them emails. But according to the original article in the Times, there is allegedly much more that hasn't been revealed publicly, and I'm intrigued to see what that is. But as I've always said all along, this turns out to be, I don't, by the way, think it's a witch hunt. I don't think the Premier League are turning up to this courtroom with photoshopped fake emails and evidence. I think they're going to verify these things. But at the same time, if this turns out that they've done absolutely nothing wrong, and City prove it in court, and it isn't thrown out because of time barring or a technicality, or there's a spelling mistake on the documents that gets thrown out. I'm talking if they are proven innocent, I'll stand by City and say, no, this is it. No more talk about their money. They deserve everything they're getting, and we move on from there. And I'll be balanced on it. I absolutely will. Because I was when you go back and watch my video when the Court of Arbitration for Sport turned over the thing with Kaz and the UEFA ban. I was them. Let's have a little look at some more of these super chats. Chelsea worse than City.
Our opinions
Get me on a call show.
I'm a lot more aggressive than Terry, by the way. Sorry for interrupting. I'm a lot more aggressive than Terry, and I own that. And it's just how I am. And you know, if I'll say it right now, if the court finds you innocent, you're still guilty in my mind. I'm sorry. It's just simple as that.
There we go. Strip Man City's titles, dirty oil club is what Anton says. You're a Chelsea fan, right?
That's the biggest own goal super chat I've ever seen.
The irony. Liverpool will sue the shit out of City with that money. A new destiny is born. FSG's plan all along. But that also becomes, again,
Liverpool leading the charge to get this bad.
Yeah, no one can, again, look, if it turns out that they've massively cheated, I'm talking hundreds of millions of pounds offshore, if this evidence is huge, then I think people will sue, because there'll be claims to say, well, you stopped us winning this and you stopped us winning that, or qualifying for this, and it would have led to this amount of money. But they have to be found guilty of such high. If it's like 5 million quid they're found guilty of, no one's suing anybody. But yeah, it all depends on the severity of what they are found guilty of, if they're found guilty. Why was the cheating done for titles? Only fair punishment is to take away the same titles. Giving them a second is consequential.
I agree with Ricky's second.
Giving
the title to the second place is just consequential and irrelevant. By the way, if you don't want to give me the title, but you're stripping City of it, I don't care. As long as the first part, as long as City are stripped of the titles if they're found guilty,
I agree. I don't want.
No problem.
Yeah,
no problem.
I think that's fair. This here says, I'm wearing a City kit, not Chelsea. Oh, it's a City kit.
Yeah.
It's a City kit.
Then it's the same thing, because Trent is the threat to Walker. Simple as.
But he's still a poor man's Gallagher. I was talking about Soboslai.
Such a fraud. There's another super chat where he was like, oh, I'm just kidding. Soboslai is actually good.
Big up both. Some good games this weekend to look forward to. Good luck to all. Peace and love.
That's Sava.
Sav. Hello, Sava. I just read. I read the thing first. Hello, bruv. Yes, thank you, bro.
Sava, you're not winning tomorrow.
Sunday. They play Sunday, I think.
No, they're playing tomorrow. No.
I swear they're Sunday. Spurs.
You know how many games are on tomorrow, Terry?
Yeah, they're Sunday. They're 2:00, and then I have to wait all weekend for us to get beat as well. Man United. We're right at the end. It's annoying.
Oh my days! You're the last game.
I know. If City are found guilty, that would mean they have robbed Liverpool of an era. Punishment ought to be as severe, and that's also what's true. But then at the same time, where I know you can't award the trophies is this: if City weren't at the level they got to, maybe Liverpool wouldn't have been that good. That's why it's hard to award the trophies afterwards, because say City hadn't cheated, say they're guilty. If they hadn't have cheated at the beginning, who knows who would improve? Maybe Man United would have stayed up near the top. And
Yeah.
Liverpool, maybe Brendan Rodgers wins a title and stays, and you don't get Klopp, and then it's hard to do, really. But but punishment to the cheat needs to be big. And by the way, that goes for Chelsea if they're found guilty as well. There needs to be huge punishments.
Chelsea snitching on themselves.
Big up Sam, but respectfully, Eden Hazard is better than Mo Salah.
Right there. And then Frank Lampard is better than Gerrard. Unbelievable.
Slippy, yeah. I think it's funny how some people have hope that Pep's titles will be stripped to protect Fergie's career, not realizing only until 2018, which is one Premier League. Well, listen, any Man United fan who's thinking about it from those lines is wrong. It's looking at City, which would actually mean they'd be stripped of 3 because there was 2 that were won prior to that, and there's domestic trophies and whatever else. So, yeah, I mean, it isn't. There'll be an element of protecting Fergie. I think you're right. But that's because if you've got a record of 13 titles that, as far as we're aware, have been run legitimately, and someone's closing in on it, but it turns out that 3, 4, 5, 6 of them, or all of them, are built upon cheating, of course you don't want it to stand. Yeah, you've got 2 Champions Leagues, Chelsea. Imagine Arsenal had 2 Champions Leagues and they were vying for their 3rd, and it turned out in the period of time they were doing that, just before it and when they started winning it, they've reportedly been cheating to get to that stage. You'd want them stripped because you'd look at your own club. Hang on, they can't have the same amount as us. They've been cheating. It'd work the same way, my friend. I don't think it's unfair for them to do that. Investing in something before public knowledge is insider trading, which is a criminal offense.
He's talking about the Guardiola's brother thing.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. But at the same but not if it's a private business, only if it's a publicly traded company. And I don't think they were. There's nothing. It's that's only if it's on the stock market. I think could be wrong. That's not
okay. So use me and KJ as an example. Imagine I own this cup of coffee and I have 100% stocks in this cup of coffee. And you tell KJ, yo, I'm going to buy this cup of coffee like in 2 months. Go buy some shares in it. And now KJ buys 30% of this cup of coffee. And suddenly now, because Terry's going to buy this cup of coffee, KJ's 30% shares are now worth 10x more what they were first worth.
My understanding is, unless it's a publicly traded company which could lose people money that don't know about it, it's fine because it's privately owned. So, like my businesses, the shares in all businesses in the UK, I think, I'm not an expert on this, but I think it only would be illegal if it's a publicly traded company because other people don't have that information. But if it's a privately owned company, you can have private conversations, I think. So, yeah, I think that's kind of it. I probably haven't worded it right, but yeah. Right here said, I don't know why football fans don't know the truth. We always felt something not right about City. We need the truth. I think that's fair. And the one thing I've said already about, Chelsea's situation makes it harder for City because Chelsea's is pretty much them reporting themselves. So they almost can't deny it. It almost becomes, it's not a witch hunt. You've done it to yourselves. And that for me is a key factor in this. And it always has been. It's been ignored by the media. None of them are talking about it. Could Chelsea be doing it because they've discovered it? And I'm more worried about, you know what? If City get done, they're going to start looking at all clubs. We're better off reporting ourselves than waiting, but we never know. Gallagher being top 5 midfielders in the Premier League is mad. He can't be. No one thinks he's the top 5 in the league. I wouldn't even say he's been the top 5 in the league this season.
Based on form, you've got to go Rodri, Rice, Szoboszlai, Maddison. That's
Maddison. Ward-Prowse has been better this year.
Not necessarily. I think Gallagher's been really good. But fair enough if you want to say Ward-Prowse as
Ward-Prowse, maybe.
Fair.
Casemiro. No, I'm joking. But yeah, maybe on form. Yeah, we're not good right now. Doesn't mean I can't be shameless. I hear you, mate. You're allowed
Feel free to be shameless, Anton. Don't worry. I don't get threatened like some other people. You can do whatever you want. Don't worry. I'm going to be more shameless back, and then you're going to get annoyed. So hold that.
Exactly. You need to get me Mr. Winegums on the show. Well, DM me on Twitter and give me your real name, and we'll talk about it. Listen, I want to say
someone as Mr. Winegums. Yo, Mr. Winegums.
Yeah, I'm not calling I don't mind calling. Some people have names that aren't the real names. I don't mind it, but I'm definitely not calling someone Mr. Winegums. Listen, I want to say a big thank you to everybody that's tuned into the show today. Please hit the like button. Please make sure you're subscribing, and please make sure you've turned on bell notifications. Check out NordVPN. Links are in our description below, or scan that QR code, and anything you donate will be doubled to support Movember as well. So we're helping with that cause. So click on those links Until tomorrow, we've got loads, obviously, with match reactions all day tomorrow. So make sure you're nowhere but the Terrace. Take care. Goodbye. God bless. And we'll see you all again very, very soon. Peace.